So you have a tender rate and you love overlanding. You have plans to do it big on the trace and some super glamping. One idea, deep news and reviews, a podcast the first rate and here just for you. You don't have to think about it, join us and be about it. Something interesting we want to hear about it, come on let's talk about it. Welcome to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints Podcast.
Sponsored by Midland, communication for every adventure. The industry leader in radio communication technology and innovation for over 50 years. Sponsored by MyMedic. Sponsored by Tembo Tusk. Sponsored by Shower Pouch. Sponsored by DeMoss Collective, mission built and made for mobility. Sponsored by BrewTrek. Sponsored by Hard Impact Designs.
Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
This is Jason with the PRIMAL Outdoors channel, and I am with Phil with Waypoint Overland and Mike with Drive the Globe, and we are here at the Deschutes County Fairgrounds at Expo 2024 at the PNW in Oregon. You guys are missing out. This is a great and fantastic event with many vendors with every type of gear you can think of, and these guys are going to tell you all about it.
Well, we're not going to tell you about the expo, but we're going to tell you.
That's right. Hey, what do you know about our podcast? You know we go off the rails. We started off the rails.
All right, guys, we have a special guest this week. We have a gentleman called PRIMAL Outdoors, a.k.a. Jason. He ventures and does exploration all throughout the Pacific Northwest. He has a YouTube channel that's very popular and has some of the best cinematography that I've ever seen. And he has a storyline within his YouTube channels that I think a large audience would enjoy. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Well, thanks for having me, Phil.
Did I read that right?
I feel like there's a lot of BS in there, but...
This is what happens behind the scenes. It's always exciting and interesting.
So, Jason, we got to ask...
You got my name right.
Yeah. It's a good start, right?
So we're going to have a little structure in the beginning.
Right.
What?
I thought we were off the rails here.
Yeah.
Well, you have a lot of fans that want to know things about you.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
Like, we assume you're from Oregon, but where were you born and raised?
I was born, because my father was in the military. I was born in Hahn Air Force Base, Germany.
Wow.
But I was only there for a very short period. I mean, I remember absolutely zero of that. And I was, my first memories, I was in just outside, little town just outside Klamath Falls, Oregon, till I was about 6 or so. And then we moved to Western Washington. And
So Pacific Northwest.
pretty much,
mostly.
yeah, PNW.
Right.
PNW pretty much of the time. Moved to Oregon when I was in my early 30s, and I've been kind of in this vicinity of Redmond, Oregon ever since. And I love it here in Central Oregon.
So,
As do we.
so the way you travel, the way you live, is there any connection to your childhood there? Did you guys travel? Did you do any kind of outdoor stuff?
My dad was not much of an outdoorsman. He was a businessman, had his own business, worked a lot. And I think we lived always in places that were somewhat rural, and I had access to, wouldn't say necessarily public land, but undeveloped land.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent a lot of time outside. I was actually, like kids our age, we played outside. So I played a lot in the woods, and around my 30s or late 20s, I got into horses, spent some time with horses, started getting me a little bit more outdoors, spending more time outdoors, and then I got into hunting around mid-30s, and then I started spending a lot of time outdoors, and I really fell in love with just being in remote places, and things just continued to develop from there.
So we're going to go into all of those, but one you didn't mention, the first videos that I ever saw of you is you climbing the sisters.
Yep, I did that. I kind of went through a stint where I was just really into like hardcore fitness, kind of preparing for bow hunting season. Trying to do the I can't think of his name, the Cameron Haynes workouts. I'm sure people, just
Oh yeah, I remember
going
those.
hard and stuff like that. And I just I kind of got interested in climbing mountains. I went with a couple friends. We climbed a small mountain in Eastern Oregon called Strawberry Mountain, and that was fun. And then we decided to climb South Sister, and we did that together as friends. But then I decided to take it an extra step further, and I climbed Middle and North Sister in one day.
Wow.
And then I decided to climb Three Finger Jack in Mount Washington. I did that in one day. And then the next weekend I climbed Mount Jefferson.
Wow.
So just quickly for our audience, where we are in Redmond, Oregon, we actually have these mountains that you climbed as a backdrop.
Yeah, we're looking out at some of these
We're surrounded by the
beautiful
mountains.
snow-capped peaks right now.
You guys are so full of shit. We can't see anything.
Yeah, we can.
If we
But-
stand
No,
up.
wait, that's a
Clouds,
plane.
all
That's
we
a
can see is
cloud.
clouds.
I thought that was a peak. No.
But
No,
if
we
there was
can't.
no clouds, we would see it.
We
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
can.
Yeah.
No, I mean, when you walk on the other side of this building, you definitely can.
No, I mean, and like I said, we got a few clouds, but yesterday was beautiful, and you definitely could see them. Yeah.
So what I like about this story, though, is for a lot of you guys that listen to us, it's always about overlanding, which I laugh at as an OG guy. To me, it was called camping. You kind of backed into it in a sense because you're more of an outdoor person that the overlanding comes along with rather than the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, I got into it when, by accident, I got divorced, and I had two older dogs, and I was doing more bushcraft style stuff when I first started the channel. And when I had the dogs and I had them full time, I had to start figuring out how to do truck camping. So I didn't look up overlanding because I had no idea what that meant.
Sure.
And so I looked up truck camping, and
Right.
I started watching for channels, and of course that just kind of led me down the rabbit hole of overlanding, and I kind of squirreled off on it. The whole idea of, I guess I was new to the idea of actually outfitting a vehicle specifically for the purpose of camping.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course I done camping, just throw shit in the back of the truck and
Right.
go camping.
Yeah.
That's, but to actually really set your vehicle up specifically for
Yeah.
the purpose,
Yeah.
that really interested me.
Yep. Because you like to fabricate stuff, too.
Well, that's new, and that's one of the things that overlanding is kind of brought to me, is as I've continued to want to do different things with my van and build out things, I've had the opportunity through the YouTube channel to watch other people fabricate and do things, and I've always been kind of a person that if I can see it done, then it demystifies it to me, and then I realize that this is something with the right tools I can do myself. So here recently, we've been having a conversation, but here recently I've outfitted a small little 2-bay shop. I've got some tools of my own, welders, little small plasma table, and I've just kind of dug in with both feet and started building whatever I need or whatever I envisioned I need for the van.
Yep. Tell us about we skip around on this podcast,
That's
by the way.
fine,
This
whatever.
doesn't have to go in order. Tell us about this chimney thing that you got coming out the passenger window.
Well, that kind of came about like from a year ago, or a couple of years ago maybe. Not last winter, but the winter before. I was out and it was dead of winter, cold, and I found myself keep running back to town because I have a Propex heater, propane, and I kept finding myself having to run back to town about every 3 days to get propane because the weather was never getting above freezing. And I was having to run my Propex pretty much hard, and I finally decided that, if I just had a little wood stove inside the van for this time of the year, then I could just supplement run that wood stove, and I wouldn't have to go through so much propane, and I wouldn't have to make so many trips back to town, which can be expensive because our rigs don't get a ton of good gas mileage. So if I could cut those trips, then that would be great. So I kind of put that idea together that spring. I bought the wood stove, kind of sat on it through the summer. Then I got into the new shop, got some tools, fabricated up what I needed for the rest of the pieces to really make the wood stove function for me well in the van, and used it this winter, and it was a game changer.
Yeah, that's so, I mean, I like your stuff because you're like one of a kind. Like, you know,
Agreed.
Do you know anybody else that's got a wood stove in their passenger seat?
I definitely know there's other guys that have wood stoves in their van, and I've seen
their
them.
van, maybe.
Yeah, oh yeah, and I've seen them. I've seen lots of. I looked at lots of different iterations of people who had already done this and the way that they went about it. The biggest thing that I didn't want is, you know, the van's a small space, and you know, this time of year, I have the stove in there right now for the show just to get attention. But this time of year, I don't want it taking space up my van, and I didn't want to poke a hole in my roof for the pipe, because I decided that what if I didn't like it? What if it didn't work out? Then I just had this hole in my roof.
You have to install a periscope or something.
Right. So the way I installed it really works out well for me, because I can totally ditch it during the summertime.
Yep.
I put my passenger seat back, and there's only really about maybe 2 months, two maybe 3 months where it gets super cold or cold enough that where the wood stove is super valuable. So it's just really nice because I can put it in and then I can take it out. And the way I designed it, when it is in and I show up to where I want to stay for a day or a few days, it only takes me about 5 minutes to set up the pipe and put the window piece in. It's really easy to set up, really easy to tear down and get down the road too.
Do you remember what was the first thing that drove you to say, hey, I'm going to camp in the woods for long periods of time? Was it a process?
I can tell you exactly.
How'd you get to full time?
So I'll tell you, I was reading a biography on Daniel Boone.
Oh.
And it was, I believe the book was actually called Boone. And it was a book that was often spoke about from Stephen Ranella from podcast Meat Eater, and he spoke about it quite often. And I finally sat down and read it, and there was a part in that book where the author was explaining how the Native Americans looked at us like purchasing land as being very odd to them. And like they look, you know, they're very nomadic. They move with the resources, they move with the game, the seasons, all these things, to be in a specific location, and where and just having just this one space didn't make any sense. It was like buying air or water to them. It just didn't make any sense.
Right.
And that just flipped this absolute switch in my head. And because I was, at the time, I had 5 acres here in Central Oregon. I had horses. It was dry lot. I couldn't grow anything. My water came from 570 feet down. And I thought to myself, like, we put a lot of value in our mind on land. And realistically, you know, in many cases, that land is, if modern things went away for whatever reason, that land is no value.
Useless. Yeah.
And that just, like, I couldn't shake that. And I went through a lot of iterations and things that I wish I would have been smarter about, and things that I would have done differently getting to this point. But I just was like, I don't want to own property anymore.
Yeah.
And I was also in the same boat that many people were. I had 5 acres and horses and a job, 8 to 5 job, and I pretty much worked 8 to 5 to come home and work, you know, the evenings and the weekends on the property, feeding horses, cleaning up after horses, fixing the fences, building new fences, repairing the house, mowing the lawn. And as I got into hunting, like what I told you guys earlier, and I started wanting to spend more time outdoors, I started to really despise those things because they kept me from spending time out in the wilderness and outdoors. So I was like, I just want to live outdoors. I just want to live in my vehicle and move around. So that's kind of a long story, but that's
but so many people ask. I get asked that question. In fact, I was on a panel today talking about, like, you know, life on the road, being a full-time nomad, of which you kind of are. What are the challenges with that, though?
Oh man, well, I mean, there's many, like, but I guess, like, showering every day, that's not a challenge for you. You've got a rig that has a shower in it. Mine outdoor shower is, I have an outdoor shower system, but that's not great in the winter when it's...
And you do a lot of winter.
Yeah. So, but, the challenges, I guess, is, I don't know. you know, for me, we got a lot of public land here in Oregon, so I can always find places to hold up. I can see the challenges for some people that are maybe trying to work a regular job still, and they have to show up, and, you know, maybe they got to stay localized or in town. But that's not me, because the YouTube channel, like, it naturally pulls me away from town, which is ideal. I don't know. There's challenges, but to me, there's challenges with the home ownership too.
For sure.
So it's just it's just juggling the challenges, and no matter, it's not like this is a perfect lifestyle. I mean, I know Instagram makes it look like, look at me, I'm out in this beautiful sunset with this awesome thing all the time. There's all these challenges of, you know, like, got to do laundry and, you know, editing in my van when it's 100 degrees outside, you know, and those kind of things, because I don't have an air conditioner in my van and some things like that. I mean, but, you know, and breakdowns. You know, vehicle breaks down, you got to fix it. It's your home. It's not just to the mechanic and then you get it back in a couple of days,
right? Because
that's your house.
Yeah, where are you going to live?
You know, things like that. So, you know, there's definitely challenges, but like I said, living in a stick belt situation or brick and mortar situation, you know, you have challenges there as well. And I don't know, you just deal with them. And then if you love the lifestyle, they won't overwhelm you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you don't love the lifestyle, then they will.
Yeah. With that said, you know, I've been following your channel for a long time, and you've had a lot of changes in lifestyle, gear, all types of things. Looking back, if you could do something different, what would you do different to get to this point?
Well, I made the mistake, you know, going from the house. Probably the biggest mistake I made in this deal is going from the house to the nomadic lifestyle, not really having a true understanding of what I wanted. I bought an RV right out of the gate, thinking, okay, I'm going from 5 acres, multiple outbuildings, all this stuff. And in my mind, at that point in time, I was going to the 35-foot RV, I was downsizing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like massively in my mind. But I bought that RV, brand spanking new, dumb. You know, never buy an RV brand spanking new. Don't ever buy an RV. But
unless you like staples and balsa wood.
Exactly. So, but anyways, I bought that RV, brand spanking new, totally sideways in debt on the thing. And as I immediately started going out and trying to live the lifestyle, it ended up being that I actually never used that RV for living in.
Wow.
I ended up using it for some other things because I just had to hold on to it and store it, but I actually never once lived in it. There was a short stint that for a couple weeks while I was building out the interior of the van that I went ahead and stuck it out on public land so that way I could just focus on building the interior of the van and have a place to come back to. Yeah. But I ended up just selling it once I finally got to a point where the thing was worth enough that I could get out from underneath it. And I wish I would have just taken some time to just use some camp gear or something, I don't know, just very minimal, and not make any big expense decisions, because if I wouldn't have bought that RV, I would have had the money to probably get a van. And it wasn't, but I bet you it wasn't 2 weeks after I bought that RV that I saw my first sportsmobile. And I thought, God, why didn't I do something like that? You know, why didn't I take, you know, if I was going to get a loan on something, why didn't I do something like that? Now, granted, I don't still think that would have been the best idea, but in the end, I quickly realized that was way too much vehicle for me, that I didn't want to tote it around. I wanted something smaller, more nimble, but it still gave me some comforts. And yeah, I looked at the van, and then basically because I was paying the payment on that RV for so long, like it just held me back from getting to this point longer.
So there was something in between. I remember the pickup and the trailer. What about that?
Yeah, they were good. I mean, be honest, everything I did between the RV, you know, mistakenly buying the RV and getting the van was just me doing what I could do within my budget that was as close to having a van as I could make it. So like you said, I had the pickup with an RTT. And when I actually started going full time, for the first point of the full time, I was in my pickup with a trailer with an RTT on it. That was very short. I think I only did that for about 2 months. Excuse me. I only did that for about 2 months. And then I got the teardrop trailer. And then I did the teardrop trailer for not quite a full year. I don't think I did it for a full year before I was able to, I finally picked up this van as a 2-wheel drive, just shitter van, because I finally just said in my mind, like, I don't have the money or the resources to buy the 4x4 van I want.
Yep.
But I'm going to start somewhere, and somehow I'm going to get it to where I want, the level I want it to be.
Yep.
I didn't know how that was going to work, and I had some really good things happen right after I got the van that helped jumpstart it. But in the end, I just said, you know what? I'm going to buy this 2-wheel drive shitter. I can afford it. I'll put some kind of build in it, and we'll just start from there and start building it. But I don't know. Did that answer your question? 'Cause I forgot what your question was.
No, actually, that was excellent for our audience. We are always speaking about doing what
you got.
Right.
Drive what you have, what you can accomplish it with. So,
Right.
So on that note, we're sitting here in the storytelling creator area here at Overland Expo Pnw. So we're essentially all here because we're YouTubers.
Right.
So that leads me, and a lot of you guys are probably interested in, and you've heard the story, you've heard these iterations of things that you've done. Mm-hmm. How did you get into YouTube? Like, how did your that start for you?
Well, so I got into YouTube in 2013 when I made my first video. I think what got into it is, again, getting into hunting later in life like I did. I found myself out in the woods a lot, and one day I quickly realized that I may not be as skilled of an outdoorsman as I would like to be. I was in the rain, I was out hunting, it was raining horribly, I was wet. I tried to make a fire using some, fire making things that were supposed to just burn underwater and and they would light, but I couldn't actually get anything to catch fire. I couldn't make a fire. I was like, I have these tools, but I struggle. I eventually finally got something going that was really rough, and I was able to get myself half warmed up. But I thought to myself right then, like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch some YouTube on like fire making skills, right? Which then kind of put me in the bushcraft community, like looking at some of the videos that were out there. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of really started to enjoy it and found that at that point, like very quickly, I didn't really even care to watch, cable television anymore. Like all I wanted to watch was YouTube and watch these different channels and watch these bushcraft channels and learn different things. And it was interesting to me, and I enjoyed getting out and doing it. And then during that process, I started thinking to myself, well, I don't really have anything to teach, right? I'm learning. I don't have anything to teach anybody. These guys are teaching stuff. This YouTube thing seems interesting to me, but I don't have anything to teach. But then I came up with the idea, is like, I'm learning, and I've got all this public land available to me. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe I'll just make videos of myself out using the skills. I'm not going to try to teach them, but I'm just going to go out and do things and use these skills, and I'll make videos of me doing it. And if they're interested in seeing something, like they see me make a fire, then they can go research it and see how to make a fire that way. I'm not going to try to teach it, but they may see something me doing, and that might spark their interest. And that's kind of where my first videos kind of started to come into play, is just me going out camping and using primitive skills. And then I just kept building on that until the channel started to kind of take off a little bit.
So I want to talk about the other end of your YouTube channel. You have a very solid, loyal viewership. What's your reaction to that? Because me being in media, knowing all of you guys, I have a gauge of reaction, interaction, things like that, and yours is extremely high. I've even gone one year to one of your Patreon events, which was one of the greatest things I ever been to, and it was 20 below zero, and I still had a great time.
Right. Those are fun, yeah.
So talk about your viewership and your interaction and response Were you shocked? Are you still shocked?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super appreciative. There's definitely people that, come and go from the channel. Like maybe I'm not doing what they want to see anymore, and I totally understand that. But I do feel like I'm been lucky to have people that don't seem to care as much about the gear I'm using or what I'm doing, as more as like they just enjoy seeing me out doing outdoor things, and it doesn't seem to matter, like I said, what I'm doing, as long as I'm outdoors and enjoying the.
Well, that's why we got you on the podcast.
Well, because it's an evolutionary story, so there's going to be people that are going to follow you, no matter what you do. They're following you. They want to see what you're going to do next.
Which that's the weird part, right? Like that's the hard part. It's like, because I'm just a normal guy like anybody else doing this. I just put a camera in front of me, and to be honest, like I enjoy the filming process. I would love to not film myself. Yeah. I enjoy making videos. I enjoy making high quality videos, which sometimes can be challenging with the YouTube algorithm and maintaining a channel. But I don't think I'm interesting at all. Like, I don't think there's anything interesting about me, especially when you come to a place like this and you start talking to people like Mike.
I just laughing because that's exactly what I think. Why the hell is anybody interested in what I'm doing?
Right. Like,
I know. I mean,
I'm like living in my van or doing this or I'm out camping, but there's people doing that all the time. Sure. Like, there's nothing special about what I'm doing. Absolutely nothing special about what I'm doing.
Compared to 100% of the population, that's not true, right? Because there's a very small percentage of the population that's doing what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know. I feel like there's hundreds of people doing what I'm doing
because we
know
doing
them
more
all.
Interesting. They're all here.
Right.
I mean, I like coming to the expo here like this is a great way to, I feel like, to put perspective to what I do, or what's the word, put you in your place, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like I go outdoors and I camp in remote places, and then you talk to some person like, I just got back from, Russia and the Siberia and
on a unicycle.
Right.
You're like, what?
And they're just like, oh, okay, I just camped, a couple miles in the woods and I thought I was big stuff, but I'm just gonna go sit in my van. Shut the door now.
Yeah. That's true. I remember, my first Overland Expo too. I thought I was all cool. I drove across the United States and I drive in and I go to the men's room and the guy next to me is like, where'd you come in from? He goes, I came in from South America and I just got here for the event. I go, I'm just going to be quiet now.
Yeah. I mean, I tell you, I'm going to interject here. Like one of the coolest times outdoors that I spent, I was hunting and I was at a camp spot that I really loved. And these folks come rolling in a VW bug, or not bug, but VW bus. And one of the newer ones, one of the newer Westphalias. And is that a VW? That's still a VW, right? Okay.
Yep.
I'm not as up on the Westphalia as I should be. But
Vanagon. Yeah,
so they roll in, and they're like, oh, they had found the spot on Overlander, which it kind of really annoyed me. And anyways,
we're going to talk about that on a podcast too.
Right. But he gets out and he talks to me, and I can tell they're from somewhere, not in this country, that they're somewhere from somewhere else. And he's like, we just want to go to Crater Lake tomorrow, and we want to check it out, but we're just looking for a place. We saw this place, we thought we'd come, and do you happen to know? And I'm like, there's some other places around. And it was the middle of the week. I was up there camped hunting. Another buddy of mine was up there camped hunting. But he only came up on the weekends, but he has his camp set up. And I'm like, this guy seemed really nice to me. So I said, you know what? Why don't you guys just stay here? There's plenty of space. You're leaving tomorrow anyways. Just stay here. I've got a ton of firewood. I'll make a big fire, and we can sit around and chat a little bit if you're interested. And those people were so interesting. They had taken that van, and they had came from the Netherlands, and they had drove all through Mongolia. And then they had shipped the van across the ocean over to Canada, had driven all the way across Canada, and came down and were on their way to somewhere in South America, and I don't remember. But I was thinking to myself, man, what an interesting story. And like, these people are like legit. Like, these are legit overlanders right here. Like, they're doing something. Like, I just go out in the woods and go camp, and I have my little overlanding routes within Oregon and stuff like that, which is cool. But like, man, these people are doing stuff that's so legit.
I got a question for both of you. It's primarily for you, but I want to hear what you got to say too.
Oh boy.
Describe to me, because I don't have to ask, did it happen? I know it happened. Describe to me the first time someone who follows you, you were having a conversation with them, and they were able to tell you an intimate detail about you that you had totally forgotten that you had divulged on.
Oh boy, I don't know. I remember that. I don't know that I remember like it being like that, but I remember the first person that ever recognized me. And kind of cool story on that is this was a few years ago, obviously, and I was actually here at the fairgrounds working at the Sportsman Show, and I was working for I was just working in the booth for the Friends of the NRA. And this gal comes up to me, she goes, "You're Primal Outdoors." And I was like, you know?
What do I do?
Yeah.
I was super embarrassed. And I didn't know what to say. And I was like, yeah, I am. And we talked for a minute. And but the interesting part of that story is I've never seen that person again. And I'm out in the woods, and I'm doing some volunteer work for Department of Oregon Fish and Wildlife. And we drive, this truck's coming, and we're out down some gravel road, and we see this truck coming, kind of pull over, and we start chatting through the window, and the dude in the driver's seat, and then the gal next door, or in the passenger seat, and she's like, I don't know if you remember me, but I recognized you at the Sportsman Show, Friends of NRA, and you're in the Friends of NRA booth, and I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? You're like the first person that ever recognized me, and how is it that I just randomly run into you
again
out in the middle of nowhere?
Wow.
Go for it, Mike.
I had this kind of a similar experience. I was actually traveling in West Virginia with a rental car, so I didn't have my truck. I didn't have a Drive the Globe shirt on or anything, and I stopped for fuel, and I'm in a gas station, and somebody walks up to me and says, "Drive the Globe." And I was like, the first thing I do, I look down, I'm like, somebody recognized me, and it was the weirdest feeling, right?
Right.
Because they're like, and I'm like, yeah, and the guy's like, well, I watch all your videos, and I love the time that you went out and did so-and-so and whatever, and I'm like, and he was like recalling facts that I don't know if I would have remembered until he mentioned it to me. So you realize quickly that people obviously follow you when you're producing content, and which I internalize that into my head at this point now. There's a level of respect and a level of I think it's sort of somewhat of maybe it's our obligation as creators to recognize that what we say or do can be largely instrumental in other people's lives.
Absolutely, yeah, I totally agree.
And I think that's kind of what makes this, where we are here at Overland Expo, interesting, because there's a lot of people that do what we do, for sure.
You guys have become the digital version of the guy I'd like to have a beer with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, yeah.
And I'm sure, let me turn it around on you. I mean, I've been with you before. Like, people are saying Waypoint Overland. Like, I mean, you're the same way. People know you.
I vividly remember the first time, because I have never taken any of this seriously, and I never thought anybody would recognize me. So the first time stuck out like a sore thumb. I was at Northwest Overland Rally, and somebody walked up to me and said, "Hey, Phil, you're Waypoint Overland, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he basically told me about everything I had done on social media up until that point.
Yeah, for the last 5 years.
I'm just going to be frank. It was the greatest ego boost in the world that, somebody was that invested in my story.
Yeah.
And he made a point of finding me at the event to talk to me.
Yeah.
So it was endearing to me. It was an ego trip. It was all of that wrapped into one for me.
Right. And that's the thing is it's when I try my absolute best that when I don't care how busy I am, if somebody notices me and they come talk to me, I try to just give them some time, you know?
Right.
And definitely like here, like I'm here to give people time. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But even if I'm out and I'm in a grocery store or I'm, you know, getting gas or whatever, if somebody notices me and they want to talk, I realize like I don't think that's a special moment that somebody should be super excited about. Like I'm nobody, but to them it's a special moment and I want them to have a good experience.
Yeah.
Something that ties into that, being on the media side of things, is people wonder how we get the guests that we get. Part of it is we know people, but the other half of it is we're very understanding. Like, we were supposed to do this podcast about an hour ago, but people were coming up to you.
Phil,
people were
you're
coming
lying.
up to
You're
you.
so lying. We were supposed to do this podcast 3 years ago.
Yeah. He's telling the truth. He's telling the truth. He's telling the truth.
True.
That's true. That's true. But still, today we're like an hour off because you were talking to people and you were talking to people, and we understood that there's more value to that person having their moment with you than shushing them off to do a damn podcast.
Well, actually, right when you were setting up, that's when, to go right along with the same story, a family came up here, and the dad introduces his son, who was probably 10 or 12 years old, and said, "You're like his biggest fan. Can we go in the truck?" And I literally just locked the door. And I go, of course you can tour the truck, you know. And then he wanted a photo with me in front of the truck and everything. And those are the moments that are super cool, because you know that these people are there's a reason they're watching you or following along with you, right? They're trying to learn. Usually they're trying to learn. And I always think about that when I'm producing something.
And when I meet people, I don't know if you guys do this, but I constantly have it in my head, I don't want nobody who took the time to come up to me and say anything to me walk away and be like, that asshole.
Yeah,
Right.
right. Well, he seems so nice on video, but then I went to talk to him and he was a jerk.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is, you know, you hear about like real celebrities, people in movies about how people met them in person and then they were rude and this and that. Now, granted, I get it. They probably it's probably on such a level like that it's hard to deal with. But I'm obviously not on that level. But there's definitely been times when somebody's walked up to me and I'm stressed about something or struggling with something, or I'm in a super hurry about, you know, and I'm trying to get, but, you know, I just gotta like, I gotta rein that in and make sure that, you know, try to make sure that like, hey, these people take the time to watch.
Right.
And if it wasn't for these people watching, I wouldn't be living this lifestyle at all.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
For sure. Yep.
And how often do you find people who are genuinely interested in you? Most people, they take a lifetime just trying to find one person that is sincerely interested in them.
Man.
So it's a privilege, in my opinion.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
Question about your hunting. What all do you hunt, and what's your favorite thing to hunt?
That's a good question. And I haven't hunted as much since I started the channel. You get so focused on filming and filming things that I can film. Hunting has really taken a back burner, and I'm trying to get myself, I'm trying to bring back that into my life. I'm making some changes, but right now, I've probably spent more of my life not killing elk.
Okay.
I'm really good at not killing elk.
So you miss a lot.
No, I don't miss a lot. I like to bow hunt, and I like to walk around with my bow a lot in the woods.
Look for them.
Not killing elk.
Yeah.
So,
They know you're coming.
you know, it's an interesting thing, and hunting is always a tough subject for some people. Like, they don't like it, but man, I tell you what, you want to have learn to have an experience in the outdoors, spend some time trying to bow hunt an animal and be able to get close to that animal, and the level of technique that takes, which I am not great at, obviously, based on what I just told you, but the level of effort it takes to do that, and being in the woods, sitting quietly, trying not to be detected, and just sitting there. And even if you do not see the target animal you're after, the amount of life that you will see in the outdoors and the things that you will see happen will overwhelm you. There's been many times that I have just, I call it like you get into the forest, maybe you get in before light, and you're making some noise, you're bound to make some noise, and then you sit down, you kind of wait for it to get light, and you just sit quietly and you wait for the woods to forget you're there. And the amount of creatures that you will see start to scurry around, and the things that you will see that maybe you weren't even thinking about. Like I've seen cougars, I've seen bears, I've seen little weasels and things like that just kind of come out and scurry around. And I think that is such an awesome time to just, and then, I might sit there for several hours and not ever see the target animal or ever have a chance at that target animal, but I saw so much. I got to see so much that I know I wouldn't have seen if I would have just been a hiker traipsing through the woods, AirPods in, not paying attention.
So much of that goes along with being is a nomadic lifestyle, though, because nomadic people were hunter-gatherers. Right? I mean, it makes sense.
I've gotten here recently that where I used to really love fishing, and that was the thing that took the back burner as I was trying to develop the channel and just finding it so hard to film fishing well, especially by myself. But now the last couple of years, or the last year especially, I've really started to get out and fish some more. And I've really enjoyed that, and I love fishing for bass.
Are we talking fly, or are we talking?
I do a little bit of both. I actually had never fly fished or really fly fished much until last year, and I kind of started taking it up and practicing, and I've had some success with it. But I do a lot of spin fishing as well, and I've also started to try to take up a little bit of ocean fishing, and going out to the coast. And I've not been successful at surf fishing yet, but I have been successful at doing some jetty fishing, catching some black rock fish off the jetty. Me and my girlfriend, who's sitting next to us, we spent 2 weeks in a favorite spot of mine on the coast, and I was catching black rock fish, and we were eating fish tacos in the evening, and it was great.
It's making me hungry right now.
Right.
So and that's kind of something more that I want to see myself develop with the van life, is more nomadicness. In everything that I've been doing in the build is about how can I stay out longer, and now I'm trying to refocus my energy on actually more small game hunting, because again, since I live in the van, elk hunting was a thing for me, but I realize now I can't really do that. If I was to get an elk, where am I going to put it? What am I going to do with it, right? So now my focus is more on small game, bird hunting, squirrels, fishing, things that I can hunt and they're small enough and that I can store in the freezer space I have available to myself in the van. But being able to actually do that in a way that I can supplement my time, so that way I'm also, again, not spending so much time running back and forth to town for supplies, that I actually can maybe supplement my food supply a little bit.
Live off the land.
And live a little bit out there. And, and there's hunting seasons and regulations that have to be abided by. But if you really look into this stuff, there's usually always something that is probably available to hunt or fish pretty much year round.
Yeah, year round.
Jason, I've been knowing you for some years now, and in every fireplace conversation that I've ever been around you in, horses have come up. Talk about your interest, your relationship, and your history with horses.
Yeah, so I don't know. I always have kind of enjoyed horses, even as a kid. And my mom, I remember, had horses. My mom's side of the family were all ranchers and farmers from around Klamath Falls area. And I've always had kind of a infatuation with horses. And when I was like 28-ish, I believe, I had an opportunity to get a horse. And I'm going to try to give the Cliff Notes version. It's basically my brother lived here in Central Oregon. He had bought a thoroughbred racehorse. And he didn't know much about horses. And then my parents moved to Central Oregon from Washington. And that horse kind of just sat a lot. It ended up, my parents had some property that had they had pasture. So my brother moved the horse over here. I came down for Thanksgiving one Thanksgiving. I wanted to ride the horse. My uncle, who was an old rancher, was there, and we tried to saddle it up. I climbed on the horse. It bucked so hard, it fell. I fell. It ripped my ear almost completely off, and I had to go to the hospital and get my ear all sewed back up. And a few months later, my dad said, I think we're going to sell that horse. You know, nobody rides it. You know, we can't afford to keep feeding it through the winter. I think we're going to go sell it. And, you know, I told my dad, I was like, man, I think he'd be a good horse if someone just spent time with him. My dad said, well, you can have him if you can find a place for him. And I had no place. I lived in a condo at the time in the middle of Tacoma, right? And so I was working for a real estate company, and I was talking to a young gal that was a receptionist, and we got in a conversation, and it turned out that her folks had horses and lived in some country area outside of town. And I said, oh, man, I really would like to have a horse. And I got an opportunity to have a horse, but I don't have any place to put it. And she goes, well, you can keep it at my parents' house, and they'll charge you only $125. And this is how naive I was, Phil. I said, I can have a horse and it only cost me $125 a month. So I went down. So we borrowed their parents' trailer. We drove down. I picked up the horse, brought it back, and he bucked me off several more times. And eventually I started and the more he bucked me off, the more I wanted to learn about horsemanship and horsemanship training. So I just kept learning and watching everything I could, reading everything I could about training. And eventually I got that horse to where I could ride it. And then I ended up selling the condo. I bought a crappy piece of 5 acres with a bunch of wetland with a crappy old manufactured home on it. And I moved the horse over there, and that's where I met my ex-wife. And then I ended up riding that horse in our wedding.
Oh, wow.
And then we ended up getting more horses. I learned more about training. And then I was doing tech, and we had moved to Central Oregon by this time, and we'd bought a better 5 acres here. And I was doing tech, and the housing market crash happened, and I lost my job. And I was getting so good at doing horses that for a couple years, I made my living by training and trimming horses.
Oh, wow.
All right. I have wanted to ask you that forever because I'm always talking or being around you and horses come up, and I really wanted to know that. And that's good for the audience, too.
But I realized what ended up kind of happening to me is I realized we live in a fenced world.
Yeah.
And hauling my horses to do things and do a lot of things was really difficult. So I ended up, rehoming my horses. I, got divorced. And then we've already talked about the story basically from there. I got into the nomadic lifestyle. I realized, having horses though, I met a guy here recently that made me realize it is possible. I don't know if you guys ever follow a guy that he has 2 horses and a donkey, and he travels around living on horseback. But
really,
yeah, I got the opportunity.
Wow.
I backpacked.
Might have to have him on the podcast.
That's interesting.
Well, I've got a video on it. If you go to my new van camping channel, I actually backpacked into the strawberry wilderness, met up with him, and did a little video thing, and kind of made him a part of one of my van camping videos.
Well, listeners are going to want to know where can they see this at?
It's Walking with Western Wildflowers, I think is his Instagram. He's really big on TikTok.
No, I was talking about your van channel.
Oh, van camping. Yeah. I mean, they can go to van camping.
So just go to YouTube and type in van camping.
Just
right?
type in van camping.
Right.
Yep. And in the episode I'm specifically talking about is called Nomad.
Okay. Wow.
Jason, is there a question I just didn't know to ask you that I should have asked you?
I don't know, Phil. I feel like you know me intimately well, which is weird. But I don't know. I don't know. I feel like you did cover a lot, and I feel like we covered a lot of details that have been maybe that I personally don't really cover well. Like, I never really talked about the horses in any kind of detail before, and I think I have covered in different periods of how I got into overlanding and how that transition from bushcraft to overlanding.
So I've got 3 ending questions. The first one is, what is your favorite landscape geography to camp and do trails and all that stuff in?
Well, I'm going to lean towards high desert.
High desert?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the forest, but I find that I am not horribly, but I am somewhat of a what's the word when you don't like small spaces? Claustrophobic. Yeah, there we go. So I love the forest. I love the woods, but I love to be somewhere where I can see long distances.
I like that too.
Yeah. And plus the other thing is, the forest is beautiful and I love it. I don't want anybody to think that I don't like the forest. I will spend time in the forest all day long, but there's the sunsets and the sunrises because of the long landscapes and the low horizons. Like the way the light travels across a desert environment, especially the way the light hits the sage in the late in the evening or early in the morning, just money to me.
I agree. And how the mountains grayscale in the afternoon,
Right.
at sunrise. I love that.
Yeah.
So one more question, and that is, I'm a newbie. I've been checking out your channel. I dig what you do. What do I need to do?
Well, I think you guys already kind of mentioned it earlier, and I think this is great advice, is, just get out and do it with whatever you got. Go to Walmart, buy a tent and a sleeping bag, and head out to the, and if you're not super comfortable about going into a remote place, go to a KOA.
Can the choir say amen? Amen.
Yep. We ask everybody that question, and most camping overlander kind of people have the same answer.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
I preach it all the time.
Because the biggest thing is, what I will tell you not to do is don't look at someone like me or Phil or Mike or anything else and say, I need all of that gear.
Absolutely.
Because the reality is, you won't know what you need until you develop your need, because you are a different person than me. You're not the same.
Yep.
What works for me, what I find useful, what gear I find useful, does not mean that that's going to make you happy. It's one thing to jump on YouTube and be like, hey, I'm kind of interested in a knife. I'm going to look and see what other people use. Yeah. But you typically, and there will always be gear that you will buy because somebody, like, oh yeah, I think that'll work really well for me. But then, you in practice, it doesn't really work well. There will always be that a little bit, but don't, the first and foremost thing is go out with what you have for as little as you have it and see if you even have a passion for it.
Yeah.
Because if you have a passion for it, you'll do it, and you'll start, and the gear will come as you have it. But if you go out and buy yourself a fully kitted Toyota Tacoma, rooftop tent, all the gear, refrigerator, total power system, blah, 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 and you don't have a passion for it, that thing will sit in your driveway.
Yep, that's right.
Any last words, Mike?
How can those that don't follow you now follow you? And what does the future look like?
Oh, geez. God, we got another hour?
Right.
I mean, it's like, that's a long question. I don't know. I'm going to give you the short answer. I don't know what the future looks like.
That's a fair answer.
As people just trying to find me, Primal Outdoors is my biggest channel, and there's a lot of content on that channel. And then I have another channel that I've been experimenting with called Van Camping, which is as high-end content that I know how to create. So those videos, that channel is one that is not going to have a lot of content, but what is there is cinematic, more cinematic,
passion project stuff.
Yeah, more of a passion project. I take more time in between those videos to kind of create that type of content. and it's not necessarily YouTube algorithm friendly. So as far as like, I don't produce enough to keep the algorithm happy with that channel, but but when I do produce something there, I put a lot of effort and time into that piece of content.
All right. Any last words, guys?
No, because you know what? I know we've started already. We got to do a cheers. It's happy hour time here at Overland Expo.
That's right.
And we're gonna go get our free drinks.
All right, guys. You know what I'm gonna say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully I'll see you here or on the trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.